Did you know that it is possible to change your whole reality? And fairly fast, too. But it takes being willing to take radical responsibility. The ego loves victimhood. As a matter of fact, it's one of its favorite things. It latches onto that identity of victimhood. And you can live your whole life very content in the state of misery. Talking about how the government fucked you over, how this girl broke your heart, the economy, all these things. And a lot of people live in this state, men specifically. There's a lot of victimhood out there. There's a lot of lonely men. And while I do have compassion for the predicament, I know how painful it is to be in victimhood. And when you're in that state, you don't realize that it's your fault. The cure to that, like I said, is radical responsibility for everything. Everything that has ever happened to you, but especially your inner world. You might be in a state of apathy, nihilism, anger, maybe a black pill mentality, not just with dating, but with the world as a whole. And it is up to you to break free of that. Literally nobody's going to save you. We've been given a narrative, like a Disney plot, that something's going to happen. Someone's going to save us. A girl is going to save us. The government is going to save us. But the reality is, something like this video is the closest thing that will ever come to save you. And in this video, I am pointing to the savior. I'm pointing to the solution. And that's you. And the funny thing is, it has always been you. There are men out there, maybe they're doing well financially, but they're overweight. Maybe there are men out there who are in great shape, but they're broke. All of this is your fault. Let that land. Be aware of how the mind reacts when you hear something like, everything that has happened to you in your life, your current situation, all of it is your fault. The mind immediately wants to jump into, oh, well, no, the government this, and when I was a kid, I went through this, and, you know, my ex-wife did this. I understand, okay? But I'm telling you, in spite of that, the power that you have within you to shape your reality is far beyond what you can possibly imagine. The world does not tell you this. And oftentimes the powers that be do not want you to know this. The news, all of it, they want you to be in a state of victimhood, because when you're in a state of victimhood, then you're helpless. You need an external savior. Anytime you're in a state of looking outside of yourself for an external savior, in whatever capacity, yeah, aka certain types of religion, you are never truly within your power. I heard this metaphor once, and I don't quite remember where, but imagine for a minute that when you came into this world, you were given a human, and your one job, hell or high water, was to take care of this human. That's it. You would have to look out for him, make sure he's taken care of. And what does it look like to take care of someone? It's not sitting on the couch all day. It's not eating a whole pizza, staring at a screen. It's not being in victimhood. And it's also not beating the shit out of yourself. Not hating yourself. But as a matter of fact, being very gentle with this human that you've been given. Taking stock. What steps can I take to lovingly foster this human into a better reality? Comfort and pleasure is not necessarily taking care of this human. You would put him in positions that strengthen him, that stretch the capacity of what he thinks he's capable of. If this human wasn't at a place where he was able to have motivation to do the right thing, then you would encourage him to go deeper within himself, to explore the inner world, to figure out, okay, what's going on here? There's something, some kind of internal wound causing this human to not be able to have motivation. We're not going to beat him up for not going to the gym. We're not going to beat him up for not eating right. We're going to go deep within. We're going to get curious. We're going to ask the right questions. It is a very harsh truth when you realize that no one is going to save you, truly. But a lot of men, they really are, deep down, if they're honest with themselves, maybe even on a subconscious level, hoping that at one point in their life, an individual, maybe a woman, will come and save them from themselves. But my friend, it's you. It has always been you. And it's time to stop making excuses. It is time to finally step out of victimhood. And the ego hates that. The reality that you want to manifest is completely possible, especially the desires of your heart. When you start to do deep inner work, you begin to realize that every individual has something within them that is worthwhile. But it takes courage to go within and begin to discover that. No matter what your circumstances are externally, I'm telling you right now that in order to have a good life, to be at peace, to have a form of success, it starts from the inside. It happens from the inside out. If you don't believe me, I want you to read the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And if anybody had an excuse to be in victimhood, it would be him. He was literally living in the epitome of the external manifestation of hell. He was in a concentration camp during the Holocaust, and all these horrible things were happening all around him. Yet, while he was there, he discovered his power. He realized, wow, there's this space in between stimulus and response where no matter what happens externally, I can choose what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose my response, and I'm going to choose how I'm going to look at this whole thing. Ultimately, he made it through that situation, and he changed the fucking world with his story and with his understanding, with his outlook. That human will, that divine element that he had, you have it within you as well. Either A, you haven't discovered it yet, or you're too afraid. Your ego is holding on so tightly to victimhood and victim consciousness, because once you break free of that, then it's all up to you. But the thing is, when it's all up to you, the possibilities are literally endless. I don't know what your circumstance is right now, man. All I know is a lot of these videos of mine, there's a lot of comments of guys just deep in victimhood, and I can't even respond to all of these comments. But usually it's women this, women that, the economy, the government. I never had parents who loved me. No matter what it is, I'm telling you that the key is within you. You are the one who's going to save yourself. It's just a matter of realizing this, finally releasing victimhood, and deciding. Sometimes this can happen in a mystical, magical way. It can happen sporadically, almost like a spiritual awakening, maybe a mushroom trip or some psychedelic experience. Don't negate the power of those. In a lot of psychedelic experiences, people are actually coming face to face with a divine power that they never even knew existed. I'm actually convinced that a lot of these stories in the Bible, these motherfuckers were having psychedelic experiences. Were they talking to the divine? Yes. But I digress. Hey man, very quick break in the video. If ever you are considering joining the Conscious Men community, now would be the time to do it. Price just went from $129 a month to $79 a month, and this is very temporary. Once you're in the community, it's locked in. Every week there are 2 group calls, so you will have plenty of opportunities to have a one-on-one conversation with me. Any topics, any questions, and right now the community is small enough to where every call you're pretty much guaranteed to be able to talk to me. When we're on these calls, I'm just there to serve. I'm there to help the guys that are in the community. There's also over 100 hours of previously recorded Zoom calls that you'll immediately get access to. And there's also a couple of courses in the community. Depending on what you're interested in and what your goals are, there is a body transformation course. It's everything that I've learned in the last 15 years of lifting, health, nutrition. I've basically done all the self-experimentation so you don't have to. It really is the only fitness course that you will ever need. There's also a mini course in there on how I create my videos. If ever you've watched my YouTube channel and you've wondered how I get that cinematic look in my car chats, I break everything down. I share all the techniques, all the camera gear, how I achieve that crisp look without any team. All of it is just done by myself. As you're probably aware by now, I do offer one-on-one coaching and mentoring, but I get dozens and dozens of forms every week, so I have to turn a lot of guys away. The members in the community get first access whenever slots open up for the one-on-one program. So if that's something that you're considering investing in at some point, I would recommend getting in the community first and then sending me a message. But regardless, you can cancel at any time. So if you just want to jump in there, have a few quick conversations with me, and then cancel, you're more than welcome to. Take advantage of it while the price is this low. The link is in the description. Back to the video. Sometimes a person can be so deep in victimhood, the other option is to get so tired of it that you decide to take action before you feel it. I was fortunate to where in my life I had a series of spiritual awakenings, some psychedelic experiences, and things that happened to me, very powerful moments that gave me the, emotional jolt to start taking action. And then from that action, my life started changing. If that doesn't happen to you, then sometimes you can just take action anyway, and take so much action, massive action, that eventually your external reality does begin to change. And once you see an inkling of evidence that better things can happen, then you start to believe it. Then your beliefs start to change. So getting to that place of being free of victimhood and being in your power, there are many pathways to get there, and it is not always linear. But I just am here to talk to the handful of guys who are ready to let go of victimhood, who are exhausted, who are tired of it. I know what that feels like. It's heavy, man. It's hopeless. It's like, man, am I just going to live my whole life and then eventually die and nothing's going to get better? If you don't do something, if you don't show up and become your savior, then yes. That can very well be your reality. And that's okay. I believe in multiple lifetimes personally. We won't get too spiritual and mystical, but I believe that we're here to learn lessons. We're here for our soul to grow and to experience the divine in a unique way that is only possible in this physical realm. So I think you'll get another shot at it. Maybe not in this lifetime, but this incarnation of this individual that you are, this personality, it is unique and it is special, and you won't have another go around as this person that you are. This person that you are, this human, has very unique gifts, has very unique properties. Don't squander it. Live it fully. Step into who you are. So all that to be said, if you made it this far in the video and you're in a season of loneliness, you don't feel seen, you feel small, I want to tell you that you are more valuable than you can possibly imagine. Your consciousness, the individual that you are. I know in this big world, in this big universe, it's easy to feel like just like a small little insignificant dot. But the thing is, You are a small dot in comparison to things. But your intrinsic worth is far beyond what you could possibly imagine. The ego wants to look at that and be like, yeah, no, there's people everywhere. We can't all be valuable. And I'm telling you, that's a lie. That is the bullshit that the ego spouts to establish its own individual world. It's all about separation. It's me versus you. It's scarcity. But I'm here to tell you that once you debunk those lies and you start to experience things like abundance and prosperity and unconditional love, you start to see that every individual has that hidden within them. But we've got to get out of this victimhood, man. It is a poison. It will fuck up your entire life. You're a fucking hero, dude. And you are your hero. You can either be a hero to yourself and then eventually a hero to humanity and other people in your vicinity who are also lost and suffering, or you can be a villain to yourself. You can hate yourself, you can treat yourself like shit, and then guess what? You're going to do that to everyone else around you, making the world a worse place. So it begins and it ends with yourself. And brother, I'm preaching to the choir. I had to go through this, man. I spent so many seasons in victimhood, waiting for something to save me, either a person or waiting for God to save me, not realizing that the God consciousness, the Christ, was within me the whole time. I only had to tap in, humble myself. Now, sometimes there is the perception of a subject-object relationship that can help you if you're not there yet. That's where religion comes in, like praying, like God help me, all this stuff. There's something still very beautiful about the subject-object relationship. But eventually you start to realize that it's one and the same. Just like Jesus would say, the Father and I are one. It's the same for you too, man. Last thing I'll say, man, if you want any support, I do offer coaching and mentoring. I do get a lot of applications every week, and I can only take on so many guys. But if that interests you, there's a link in the description. We can potentially hop on a discovery call, just fill out the application. A much less expensive option because there's only one of me. I can only work with so many guys personally and one-to-one. The Conscious Men community is a fantastic place to be to still connect with me directly. We do 2 group Zoom calls a week, and the community is honestly small enough to where you'll be able to talk to me pretty much every time you jump in there. I can answer any questions. We can discuss any topics that are on your mind. Link is in the description for all of that. Stay strong, one day at a time. Ask deeper questions. Set yourself free of victimhood. You are loved. You matter. And you have barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. I'll talk to you soon.
Are we human? Or are we dancer? My sign is vital. My hands are cold. And I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human? Or are we dancer? I did my